Hello guys, Dr. Pen here with my second Let's Talk video. In this video I will overclock my graphics card, which is an R9 270X Dual X edition from Sapphire, and bear in mind that this is a 2GB version as there is a 4GB one. Will we get a better performance out of games? Let's find out. Okay guys, first things first, in order to overclock my graphics card, I used a program called MSI Afterburner. This program is really good as it lets you monitor the GPU usage, the GPU temperatures and the fan speeds of the card, and it's very good because it will show you an instability instantly. I would like to caution you though that my overclocking settings may not necessarily work for you as every card is different. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get to the actual overclocking. As you can see, the core clock of the card is 1070 MHz and the memory clock is 1400 MHz. Our aim here is to go as high as possible without increasing the power limit or the core voltage. So what I found stable was to increase my core clock to 1100 MHz and to increase my memory clock to 1500 MHz. This was a very good and stable overclock for me. Now for the actual benchmarks, I used Unigine Valley on medium and high settings with 3 different resolutions: 720p, 1080p and 900p. The reason I use 900p is because that's the highest playable resolution my screen can handle, and yes, I need a new monitor. Also, the overclock was tested on 2 games which I currently play. The games are League of Legends and Arcade. Don't worry, I will add more games to my future tests. For 720p Valley test, we can see from the graph that we are getting a 2 to 3 average FPS increase when the card is overclocked on both settings used. That means on both medium and high settings. At 1080p is pretty much the same story as with 720p in Valley. We only got a 2 to 3 average FPS increase in both settings as well. At the 900p medium settings there was only a 2.3 average FPS increase, but on high settings there was almost an 8 FPS increase. But the important thing is that the minimum and maximum overclock were almost double of the stock ones. Now on to our game benchmark. The first game I tested was Arcade, and as you can see from the graph, when VSync was enabled, the average FPS was almost identical on all settings and clock speeds. The weird thing about this game was that with VSync off, even though I was getting higher average FPS, the overclock FPS was lower than the stock one. But more of that in the conclusion. The second game I tested was League of Legends, and in League of Legends there was the same FPS cap with VSync on as in Arcade. But with VSync off, we can notice a massive FPS improvement. With VSync off, the average FPS doubles, with 720p staying in the range of 130 average FPS, and at 900p staying at 146 average FPS when overclocked, with a 21 average FPS increase over the stock speeds. So now for the conclusion. Was the card overclocking worth it? I think yes, because even though we didn't get much of a performance increase, the games were running a bit smoother, and I'm pretty sure that I could get a much better performance if I was willing to tweak the power limit and give the card a bit more voltage. So what do you guys think? Was this a good overclock or a bad one? Tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and also hit that like button as it helps out a lot. Until next time, Dr. Payne out.